Hey golfers, this is Charles. Today's lesson is going to be about the 5 fundamentals. And we're going to start with grip. There's 5 fundamentals: grip, aim, ball position, posture, and stance width. Those 5 fundamentals are the cornerstone of becoming a good, consistent golfer. So with that said, we'll start with the first, and that is grip. When you grip the golf club, it's critical that your hands be on it correctly, because that's the only contact you have with the golf club. So if your hands are not on it correctly, you can't control the golf club. Now, when we do grip the golf club, if you're a right-handed player, your left hand is going to be on the top of the grip. Your right hand is going to be on the bottom. If you're a left-hander, your right hand is going to be on the top of the grip, and your left hand is going to be on the bottom. Now, the most important aspect about when you grip the golf club correctly is when you do grip it, there's a V that's formed by your thumbs and index fingers on both hands. A V as in Victor. When you grip the golf club, whether you're right-handed or left-handed, those V's should point slightly off center in terms of your body, not towards your chest or your sternum. For a right-handed player, those V's will be pointed slightly to the right. And if you're a left-handed player, those V's will be pointed slightly to the left. And again, those V's are formed by your thumb and index fingers on both hands. So your hands rotate either slightly to the right if you're a right-handed player, and then slightly to the left if you're a left-handed player once you take your grip. Now, whether you interlock your fingers, overlap, or if you have a standard 10-finger grip, the one that's most reliable is the one that allows you to control the golf club the best. So it doesn't matter whether you interlock your fingers, overlap them, or have a 10-finger grip. The standard grip is generally an overlapping grip. But if you're comfortable with that, that's fine. But the other 2 are just as serviceable. But the most important thing is that when you grip the golf club, those V's point either slightly to the right as a right-handed player or slightly to the left as a left-handed player. And the heel pad on your top hand, the left hand for right-handed player, the right hand for a left-handed player. That heel pad on that hand has to be on top of the grip. And if it's on top of the grip, you have a secure grip. It enables you to leverage the golf club. And if your hands are on it in that manner, you're going to be able to control the golf club better. And that concludes having a solid grip. And when you set up to swing at a golf ball, that's probably the most critical aspect of the game, is aligning properly. Because that's basically what matters most. Where's the golf ball going? Can you control where it's going? And to align properly, what you need to be able to do is create 2 lines. And often in instruction, that parallel line is not talked about nearly as much as it should be talked about. And it's critical to your success when you're aligning. The target line is the most important line in golf, the aiming point, the aiming line. And the parallel line, which represents your stance or your body line, that is just as important, because your body line should be parallel to your target line. And in order to establish correct alignment, you have to establish 2 lines. When instruction talks about the railroad tracks, that's what it's referring to. 2 lines, one for your club face, the other for your body line. So when your body line is parallel to your target line, the golf club can operate on the proper path to the golf ball with less restriction, less compensating, and fewer adjustments when you're swinging the golf club, when those lines are parallel. And in order to establish them, you have to, first things first, start from behind the golf ball and draw an imaginary line from the target back to your golf ball. Find a point as close to your golf ball as possible on your target line to aim your club face. Then you found your target line for your club face. And then you have to find the parallel line, the line that's left of your target line for a right-handed player, right of your target line for a left-handed player. That's the parallel line, or the proverbial railroad tracks. So once you set up and you get your body line parallel to your target line, and that's a definitive line just like the target line is, you have aligned properly. And without aligning your body parallel left as a right-handed player or parallel right as a left-handed player, you cannot consistently control where the golf ball is going. So remember, when you're setting up and aiming and finding your aiming point, two lines are critical. Not only the target line, but the stance line. And the stance line should never be aimed at the target line. It's always parallel to it. And again, this allows the golf club to work up and down the target line without any obstruction from your body. So when you do set up to aim, not only are you aiming the club face, but you also have to get your body line parallel to the club face and the target line. And if you're able to do that consistently, your golf ball will behave much more to your liking. And the next fundamental is ball position. When we set up to swing at a golf ball, the position that the ball is in relative to your feet represents the ball's position. And this is much debated and argued, and matter of fact, a lot of instruction misleads most amateurs in terms of correct ball position. And it's been mistaught forever. And I was under the same illusion when I started to play the game, that true ball position is based on the golf club you select and the length of the golf club. So what's been taught previously is the ball position changes based on the length of the golf club. The middle length golf clubs, the ball should be positioned in the middle of your stance. The shorter golf clubs, the ball position should be back in your stance. The longest golf clubs should be more forward in your stance. And that's just not correct. From a physics standpoint, the low point in the swing arc never changes. That's constant. And because the ball's not moving, you absolutely control where you're standing. So when you're standing in the correct place consistently, it's easier to strike the golf ball. The true and correct ball position is based on the lead foot. So for a right-handed player, that's going to be your left foot. For a left-handed player, it's going to be your right foot. The true ball position should be no more than the width of your foot, however wide or narrow your foot is. You know, if you have a medium width foot or a narrow foot or a wide foot, the width of your foot should be the general ball position. The distance that your lead foot is away from the ball, just the width of your foot. The only thing that ball position change does is it affects the trajectory of a shot. When you move the ball back in your stance, away from your lead foot, the ball flight's going to be lower. If you move the ball forward in your stance, closer to your lead foot, the ball flight's going to be higher. So when the ball position is constant, you can control the low point in the circle consistently and find contact better. It gets more consistent because the radius of your golf swing is dictated by your lead arm, and the low point in the circle does not change. It doesn't matter how long or short the golf club is, the circle's either getting larger or smaller, but the bottom of the circle is always in the same place. And that's physics. That's just not what I think or a tip. That's the physics of it that are going to dictate whether or not you make consistent contact. So when the ball is positioned just the width of your foot away from your lead foot, you're standing in the correct place, whether you have a driver or a pitching wedge. If you want to hit it higher or lower, the ball position will change either forward or back to change the trajectory of the shot. But the constant ball position to control contact should be in the same place. And that's never going to change no matter what golf club you have in your hand. Now, what that dictates, when you do set up correctly and the ball position is correct, your head is going to be behind the golf ball. If you're a right-handed player, your head's going to be to the right of the golf ball. If you're a left-handed player, your head is going to be to the left of the golf ball. That is what all good players and every single professional has in common. When they set up to swing at a golf ball, there are no exceptions. Their head is always behind the golf ball. Right-handers to the right, left-handers to the left. So when the ball position changes, if you put it in the middle of your stance, for example, generally, most amateurs, their head is on top of the golf ball, which complicates their ability to strike it because they're out of position. They've tried to change the low point in the circle, and that's not possible. If you move it forward or back, you still need to remain tilted and your head's got to remain behind the golf ball. If you do that, your ball striking will change forever. The next fundamental is posture. And posture in a golf swing and your setup is fairly simple. It doesn't matter what your body type is, how tall, how short, how long your arms are, how short your legs are, how wide, how narrow. Good posture is about one thing. just trying to set up and be athletic over the golf ball. So when you set up to swing at a golf ball, you want basic knee flex, nice and athletic over the ball, not too much knee flex, not standing over the golf ball with your legs locked, but just comfortable and athletic. And as you set up and take your golf posture, your arms should hang naturally from your shoulders. They don't hang naturally too far away from your body, and they don't hang naturally stuck right on your hips. They just hang out in front of you naturally. So when you set up and take your golf posture and the golf club comes to your hand, whether it's the longest club you swing, a driver, or the shortest club, a wedge, your arms should hang naturally from your shoulders, and you have slight knee flex and just good athletic posture, and you're in a good hitting position, and that will ensure that you're able to make more consistent contact. The next fundamental and the last fundamental of the 5 is stance width. And that refers to how wide or how narrow your stance is when you set up to swing at a golf ball. The longer the golf club gets, simple physics, the wider your stance needs to be to accommodate the length of that golf club and the size of that circle that the club is swinging on. The shorter the golf club gets, the more narrow your stance should be, because again, the length of the club has shortened, so the circle has gotten smaller, so the width of your stance has to accommodate that. It's not moving around the circle as far, so your stance should narrow to accommodate that. So narrowing or widening your stance, again, is dictated by your body type. How tall, how short, how wide, how narrow, how long, how short your arms may be. So once you set up to swing a golf club, stance width should be dictated based on your body type. The longer the golf club gets, the wider your stance gets. The shorter the golf club gets, the more narrow your stance gets. And it should always be appropriate just based on your body type. If you like that lesson, leave a like or a comment. And if you're interested in working on your golf game, if you'd like to get in touch with me, I'll leave the information on how to get in touch with me in the description.